Hey everyone! Welcome to another exciting edition of the Liquid Weekly Podcast. I'm your host, Karl Meisterheim. With me, as always, my stalwart co-host, Taylor Page. Taylor, looking good today.
Thank you. Thank you. We didn't match shirts today. I was like, Carl definitely does not have this color shirt. I did this very much so on purpose.
No grown man has that color shirt. No. Hey Taylor, you know a lot about me, and you know how I have a lot of skills. Nunchuck skills, ninja skills, home improvement skills, basement foundation waterproofing skills, right? But one of the skills I lack, and I'm okay to admit it, I'm not upset, is design skills. I just can't design anything worth a bean, right? So we brought on, and by we I mean you, search high and low for our guest today, who is the amazing Alex Abbott, the creator of Dezi, the AI-powered visual builder for Shopify. So we don't have to design anymore. So Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're excited to have you. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Okay. I was like, Taylor looks so pensive. I wonder what was going on in his brain.
I was trying to click all the buttons to like get the clapping going. So
nice. How are you, Alex?
Thank you for coming on. Yes.
This is the second time we have met, Alex.
It is, yeah. First time at Additions, and that was a blast.
Yeah. So remember that dark little hallway we found and that guy that walked in from the curtain behind you? That was fun.
Oh no,
let's link to that clip.
No, that was Josiah from Helium. We got Alex after the global markets discussion.
Yes.
That was I was like, get Alex, because I had lost my voice by then. So so I can actually talk this time. Very excited about this.
Well, we've already met. Our audience, I think the one guy's back there, our audience is watching. They don't know who you are. And so I always like to start with a little bit of like an origin story, telling us kind of how you got into the software development, specifically around Shopify, a little bit about your personal life if you care to share, and we'll kind of go from there. So tell us, Alex, how did you become the superhuman that we see before us today?
All right, well, let's go back a little bit. So I originally, I guess let's go back, I don't know, 2017 or so, 2018. We're going way back.
Way back.
This was when I started college. I'm giving you the whole thing.
Do it.
I had typical story, didn't know what to start with, with college, didn't know what to go into. Settled on software engineering because I had a brother-in-law that was a software engineer, and he was kind of talked to me about it, and I was like, oh, that seems pretty cool. Worked at his company for a bit, not doing software related stuff, but tech adjacent. And then what really pushed me into programming in general was I got an internship through my college. And that was kind of what set it all off. I ended up getting full-time job after that. And then I stopped going to school. I did about three years, stopped going to school. And then, so that's my basis for just software engineering in general. And Shopify, I know that was very high level, and we can go into more details later. But for Shopify development specifically, this was in about 2020, I want to say, or 2019. It was right, when the pandemic is happening, everything's going on. And we had our first kid in 2019, very end of 2019. And my wife started a baby clothing business, making graphic designs for onesies, basically. So she started doing that, and then we were looking into how to sell, of course, e-commerce, and stumbled upon Shopify. And of course, my first thought as a budding programmer was what can I build to try to make this easier, and also just I was kind of curious at that stage and wanting to build everything. So I built a Shopify app for my wife, and it was actually for the app, what do they call it, the app contest thing. I think in 2020 or 2021 they did this app contest where you I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was Shopify hosted this thing. You build an app, submit it, and then they judge it, and there are some prizes and stuff. So I did that. It was a terrible app, terrible video. I literally recorded it on my phone, like with one hand holding it, recording my computer screen, and me just like,
yes,
the whole video was like click, 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 like super loud. Yeah. Anyway, so it was really bad. But during that process, I was like, hey, Shopify app development is actually kind of difficult. Probably a mixture of me being, pretty inexperienced, but also there was just like no materials on it. Felt like there were no materials for app development specifically. So I made a YouTube video with what I had learned, and then that is what kind of started the like snowball effect into what it is today. Because I started liking the topic more, made a few more YouTube videos, started doing some freelance development like three-ish years ago now. Just, kept doing that. Obviously, we've like seen each other on Twitter and kind of those communities, so just kind of embedded myself more in that community, and that's kind of where we are today. And then it kind of built into building tools like Polaris components.
I was gonna say like talk about that, but and that's wild. At least just to note offhand about your first video, because like your video setup now is like really legit. Like your YouTube videos are very high quality and all that stuff too. And so I was like, you're like, I'm on my phone. So for people who are like start somewhere, I mean that's a really great story for that. Like your setup's like more legit than mine. So like
thank you. Yeah,
great job on improving that. It's awesome. But yeah, like talk about Polaris components a little bit too. That was probably a big piece. Stumbling into that. Just start building tools for people.
I'm trying to even remember like where the idea came from. And I think it was just when I started freelancing, and as I was, building apps, kind of just personal apps up until that point, there's just a lot of repetitiveness, a lot of components that Shopify uses that aren't. Sorry, my throat just tightened up. A lot of components that aren't in the like official Shopify Polaris React at that time library. So I was just thinking it'd be nice to kind of have a like what I call them compound components, like taking all these little components that they do give you and building something out of it that is like a conglomerate, I guess, of all the components, and like the setup guide that Shopify uses in their admin. That was something that wasn't widely available. So that's kind of where it came from. And then the open source aspect of it, I don't think I initially was going into it with open source. It was definitely going to be like just a free resource. But once I posted about it, a lot of people were asking about open source. I talked to King about it, of course, the open source king. And after that, I was like, yeah, I think I should do an open source library. So that's where that came from. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very glad that was a thing. It was a ton of fun to work on. But yeah, that's kind of
probably pretty cool too to see people start to submit stuff too. Like that's pretty cool. Like a project that you started. I think that's the tough part about open source. Like at least with a lot of people that I've spoken with, when it comes to open source, is a lot of times it's like, hey, I spent all this time working on this great tool. This is going to help you with a lot of things that I found to be pain points. At least, please, make things go faster, get further along, or whatever, get you a good starting point. And then you just get people complaining about stuff, or like, this doesn't work for my super niche edge case or whatever. Like, why won't you fix this? And it's just like, well, you can just tweak it as needed kind of type thing, or submit your own. And so that's really cool that you've had. I feel like it's been a very positive experience overall when you started sharing those or whatever. People really jumped onto that, really appreciated that. It's really cool, even with working with these other projects, that it's still up and running, and able to be useful in that regard too. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So we're talking about this, open source, and talked about the Shopify side of things a little bit, getting into Shopify. we don't have to go into the story of, school and all this other stuff or whatever, kind of type thing. I think
Well,
we've got like a ton to
we
go on. Oh,
do
like Karl
a
wants to
little bit.
backtrack.
Well, I just
Um,
think, we're hurtling down this train of Alex's journey. We're going to get to the final destination here, which is very impressive technically. And a lot of people might be listening to Alex's story thinking, how did you go from not really even being all that interested in computer engineering or science, just as a suggestion of your brother, right? To
Yeah, brother-in-law. Yeah.
brother-in-law, being in school, but not even finishing out the degree. And then you're writing some really cool stuff. Like, how did you gain the skills and the abilities that you feel like enabled you to be where you're at today?
So I, it's kind of looking back at it. It felt like I guess I'll start with like, I'm not like special at all. Like definitely something anyone can do. I believe. Um, and it was a lot of luck involved, like with getting my first internship. Completely bombed the interview. Like the interviewer literally was like, "You don't know anything," pretty much. And so I went home and I was like, "Okay, I guess that's not gonna happen." But it did end up happening, and that was kind of the biggest thing for me, and that was like it was just extreme luck, in that case. But I did try to do a lot of self teaching because in college, especially back at that time, there wasn't a lot of like web development classes or JavaScript, React focused. It was all Java and C++ and Python and backend related stuff for software
Good old
engineering.
days.
Yeah, the good old days of software development. But so a lot of the JavaScript stuff I had to like try to figure out from like Free Code Camp, resources like that. I did get into Udemy quite a bit too. But I feel like those can be dangerous too because you can get in like the tutorial hell as they call it, and you just kind of go on loop after loop. So
just this purgatory of like
yeah,
just watching tutorials. Yeah.
That's kind of where I was. And so this internship opportunity really like pulled me out of that. And then yeah, it was like an insane learning experience. My mentor, I think my mentor expected me to learn more when I got in too, because I got in and he was like talking to me about this thing that he wanted me to do, and he was talking about CSS, and he was like, "So do you know like much about CSS?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Okay, we should learn CSS." So stuff that I think I probably should have known. So it was like imposter syndrome from the beginning, pretty much, basically. But that really kind of propped it up, because from there I was able to, that internship lasted I think 3 months. And then from there I was able to apply, got a full-time job. Also very, very lucky because I didn't have a degree, only had internship experience, but luckily the hiring interviewer, um, they they just liked how I was, like how I did in the interview. I didn't know everything, couldn't answer all the questions, but they I guess they saw something. So for that I'm super grateful. And that, yeah, so it was a mix of a lot of luck and a lot of self-learning, since that kind of teachings would just weren't in the college at the time. Yeah, and that kind of led me down that path. Sorry, does that answer the question? I forgot the question.
It does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, I think that's been the pushback with a lot of people with like traditional education, depending on what you're wanting to go into when it comes to like web development, software engineering, like whatever you want to call it. That's, I think, a lot of pushback, and Karl's also a learned man, so maybe he could speak to this. I did not go to school for any of this stuff, so I don't know what they're teaching there. I hear a lot of feedback on like it's usually like pretty old tech kind of type thing, which the idea is to give you like a really solid base or foundation, I guess. But I think that's a knock as opposed to people who are just a lot of developers. I don't know. Most of us are like solution focused on give me the information I need right now to build this thing. And then from there, I'm going to start figuring things out. And I think that that's a really good skill to have where, web development has kind of lent itself to being able to just have that skill, like teach yourself how to do something based on a handful of things. And, you can get pretty far with that. You don't need the traditional schooling aspect for that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, Alex, because I'm sure there may be one or two people listening, and of those one or two people listening, one of them might be wondering, like, how could I get into this too? And I think it's encouraging to know that you don't have to have a 4-year degree. You don't have to go through even a boot camp program, right? You can learn things, and as long as you work at it, because you did a lot of self-learning, and it seems like the other big piece is actually getting some practical experience, whether that be an internship or writing your own project or just messing around. Those can all add up over time and create something like Alex, which we're going to learn more about just how amazing that is here shortly, right? So anyway, thanks for the little digression. I just think people need to hear that it's approachable, and they all feel like imposters, and that's okay.
Yeah, good information too to get into. I mean, and that's a lot of you started getting into Shopify too, is like you started having kids and a family. So that's also that's also a pivot, like as far as as that goes. So that was kind of the same. Like I made my transition after the second kid. And so was that kind of in your mind too? Like while you're thinking about like what's long term, what's the best thing kind of type thing. I think everybody gets in their head, whether it's kids or it's, your financial future, whatever kind of type thing. I think there's a lot of stumbling blocks to that when you're starting something like newer like that.
Yeah, I think it was for me. I think it was like the main motivation for Shopify was at the beginning, and honestly, like the whole time was just the like excitement about the platform. I know that sounds kind of boring, but like and that's why up until still I have a full-time job. I've never not had a full-time job, so and I think that contributes a lot to it. Like I didn't have the pressure of, like having a kid and like trying to figure things out or trying to like do Shopify freelancing solo. um I I always kind of had that safety net to fall back on.
Right.
So yeah, for me, I was lucky in the fact that I could just kind of focus on Shopify in my free time and just kind of learn at how I wanted to learn in the pace. Which it also took me a lot longer than it would have if I were to just, dive in feet first. But like even now, like, I've been at a full-time position at an app at Shopify called Ribbon. And that has been like I've learned so much in the past month and a half that thinking back, I'm like, well, if I had done that, for 3 or 4 years now, I think things would have been very different. But I don't regret it. Like it felt like a very, stable choice for my family. I've 3 kids now. And yeah, and family is like priority number one. And so that was kind of always my thought was the, stability, I guess.
Well, that's a good segue. Carl and I think, like to have conversations about this too, occasionally with figuring out, like, when you're prioritizing family, like when you do have a family and you're trying to figure out, you've got maybe these side projects and you've got like a full-time job and you're trying to do a lot of time management. So a little bit outside of this, but I think a lot of people are kind of in the same boat because, and to speak to clarify that point too, your last job full-time that you've been at for a while before you moved over to Ribbon here was not Shopify specific, right? And so
No.
This is where now you're kind of like fully in Shopify all the time, both in the full-time role and then also the nights and weekend stuff where you're building all the things. And so I don't know if you have any quick tips on that, like how you structure or manage your time and day with that, because you do a lot, when it comes to that. And so I think a lot of us are always trying to figure out how do we not necessarily like squeeze every ounce of productivity out of every day, but when you have to recognize or not lose sight of the fact, I'm working this hard because, maybe you do have a family or you have, future plans to retire early or whatever it is. You've got some kind of thing that you're trying to protect or provide for. So what are some things that you do to kind of help protect your time in the week, both to get, the other things done in addition to work and stuff?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say it's a lot of late nights. Do like the typical during the day working, at the full-time job. And then evening is like try to keep it for family stuff. Cause I'll stop working at 5 and then just kind of hang out with family, do whatever until bedtime, which we put our kids to bed like around 8:30. some would say it's too early. I don't know.
Nah, I'm team 8:30, so you're good.
Okay, awesome. But yeah, and then after that, it's usually just working, and it was a little bit different. Like I would say during Desi when I was like in the thick of it, because that was most of my time. Like outside of full-time job, it was 4 or 5 hours a day on Desi, like just pushing it because I was very excited about it. Something I wanted to do, still want to do. But yeah, as I was initially building it out, that was the main motivation. And then the other thing is that I weirdly don't, or at least I think I don't need much sleep, like to function. So like an average day,
like say, what's not much? What is this number? I'm interested.
I don't know, 4 hours a night, maybe 5.
I need 4 to be functional, 6 to be at least ideal or whatever. But I think like primo is like 7 for me. I can't do 8. Like
yeah, no. If I sleep too much or longer, then it has like the opposite effect where I like want to keep sleeping longer and longer. So yeah, so 4-ish hours, 5-ish hours. Also with kids, that's kind of expected anyway. So maybe that was what built up that muscle.
You kind of get used to it a bit, right?
Yeah, like our little one is still a year and 3 months, and she wakes up still like once in the middle of the night. So that's like I get a nice little wake up call like 2 or 3 in the morning, and just So
that's when you're supposed to pretend like you're still asleep, and let the wife handle that, right? That's not. I'm a bad husband, a bad dad. Is that what you're saying?
She definitely. My wife does need more sleep than me, and so try to protect it when I can. And we kind of have a deal where like in the middle of the night, I will like feed the baby, like make sure she gets back to bed, and then on days where she does it. Or what was I trying to go with? Oh, okay. So here's the deal. Sorry, I'm like trying to think of all these situations.
Revisit these terms, maybe.
There are days where she takes care of the baby in the middle of the night, and then I let her sleep in a bit, and I take the kids to school on my way to work. Because I have an office, a WeWork office, and I go there a couple times, 2-3 times a week. So on those days, I'll take the kids and let her sleep in and stuff, and then we just kind of like swap, I guess, whenever we feel like it. But yeah, so I think the lack of sleep built up that resilience to staying up later, typically like I don't know, midnight, 1, 2 sometimes if there's a lot to do. But yeah, so
that makes sense. So you have a pretty supportive partner then in that regard. I think that's a big key for a lot of people too, where they're trying to prioritize or balance a lot of things. Like it's pretty hard to do alone or solo. So getting your partner on board with that, I think, is always really huge. Where you can at least, I talk to some people and like they would never have some kind of like agreement switched off or trade off or whatever of, hey, I'm trying to support you, you're trying to support me. And I think you can do a lot more if y'all are both on the same page, because it sounds like she really supports you and how you're doing a lot of this. Like I'm working pretty late, or I'm working here.
She's sleeping, so he just gets to get stuff while she's asleep. Well, that's
No, it used to. I am super grateful. Like I love my wife. She's super supportive. Like she doesn't have a full-time job or a career really. It's like taking care of the kids is the primary concern, which I'm super grateful for. That we're in a situation to have that. And then she, it mostly was, there was a lot of times where, she would go to sleep. And it would, it's not ideal, I think, like for, one partner to stay up all night. But lately she has been, I mentioned she had a business for making onesies. She's always been very entrepreneurial, much more than I am. And so recently she's been doing her own business. Have you guys heard of Whatnot? It's like
no.
It's like it's like an auction app, like how do I explain it? It's like a video auction site. Like you go live, and then you have a bunch of stuff that you can just auction off, like whatever it is. I think there's a lot of clothes. There's like baseball cards or Pokemon cards or whatever, and people, they just auction it off. You can bid directly on the app. It's actually pretty cool. I had never heard of it, but
it's like live selling eBay kind of type thing.
Pretty
almost.
much, yeah. Okay. So my wife found that a couple months ago, and then she wanted to try it. She loves thrifting, and she loves upcycling thrifted clothes with vintage characters like Strawberry Shortcake and like, I don't know, old Disney stuff. So she just like started, and then she got into sewing. So she just like learned sewing and started upcycling, like sewing all this vintage clothes with all this stuff, and then she started selling them, and now she is loving that and doing really well with it.
It's awesome.
So, but I bring that up because now she is also up late doing the things that she likes, and I am also up late doing the things that I like, and we're in sync that way. So
that's cool.
Very cool.
But, yeah. Let's just throw out a little disclaimer before we get too far, though. For those of you listening, 4 hours of sleep is probably not healthy for most people.
That's our
Alex, you're the second person that I met that can do that. I have another coworker that's very similar, and it's like a superpower because you do have all this free time if you choose to use it well, which it sounds like you're doing. But for the normals of us out here that need 7 or 8 hours of sleep, like, we're still okay. We can still do this too. But
yeah,
it's really cool that you're able to do that.
It is not ideal, I would say. And there is like, after like a week of that, it builds up to the point where like, okay, you need to sleep more. So yeah, I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
And I'm not the most productive with my time. I am like, I'm absolutely not like extremely productive or anything like that. Like, I'm just, yeah, I get very
I think you're pretty productive, and that would be a great point to transition. But I do want to ask real quick about, because a lot of us work from home, and you do have like a co-working space. Do you find that's probably another maybe productivity strategy that you use? Do you find it's helpful to like have a space to work outside of the home? Because you have obviously a very nice home office setup as well. Or at least I'm assuming this is not the WeWork office.
No, so this is home. This is home.
you're recording. So you've got a nice home office setup as well. Do you find that it's helpful too to like either mix it up or have like another space where you can work that's outside of the home? Or, I don't know. Is that just something you have to do based on like the jobs that you've had where they don't want you to work at home? Or I'm assuming that's something that you've gotten to help be more productive when you need to.
Yeah, no. So all my jobs, like, since the pandemic, have been fully remote, so I didn't have to. But last year I was doing the freelancing, I was doing my normal job, and I was just wondering if getting an office would help with like focus and all that, because like I'm home, like the kids are running upstairs, I can hear them running around and stuff. So I personally think it's extremely helpful. Like I said, I go 2-3 times a week. It's very nice for like focused time, like uninterrupted time. And it feels, like I think the home office is like for convenience. It's extreme convenience. Can wake up, work. I need to pick up my kid from school. Like, yeah, okay, I'll take a 20-minute break and go do that. But the home office is very nice, or the WeWork office is very nice for like the uninterrupted, no distractions, which you do need quite a bit of for programming. So that's, I would recommend it.
Yeah, there's something to be said about, I've got noise canceling headphones, which are very helpful when the kids aren't home. And it's not even so much so that they're distracting as much as like, I want to go play too. I can hear you all running around or whatever. Like, I want to go outside and jump on the trampoline or whatever, and so it's more of that distraction of, oh man, they're having fun, I'm in here or whatever. So I do have the noise canceling headphones. I think that's very helpful, but I would agree there's sometimes where I found it's just beneficial just to like go work out of a coffee shop. But I have considered that too for summers, just since they're home, or getting an office or something in town. So that's might be something I'll have to explore a little bit more. Sounds like it's very helpful.
Yeah, I like it. And the WeWork is nice. It is the one thing I don't love about WeWork though, is at least the private offices. I didn't realize how noisy they are. Like, you can hear so much noise outside. When I first got my office, there was no one like occupying the offices around me. And it was nice. I was like, wow, this is like a very quiet office. I love this. And then somebody moved in right next to me, and like I can hear them talking on their phone calls and stuff, and I'm like, okay. So I probably won't do WeWork again. It's also very expensive, well, relatively expensive. So, but yeah, a separate space out of the home. I think it's actually pretty great.
That's awesome. I've always liked that idea. That's always been that would be a cool business model, like running a remote work office site. So I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it or whatever that, especially the area I'm from is a small town or whatever. So we already have like one or two here. So it's probably capped, but yeah. I was surprised by that too. So, but it's been helpful. When I used to live in Missouri and we visited here, I would go work just get like a day pass and go to, it's not a WeWork. It's like a local, like remote office situation. And so it's pretty nice. They get like local coffee, and those sorts of things from some of these local brewers and stuff. So it's nice from that perspective. I always thought it would be a neat business model to look at. So speaking of neat business models, unless Karl has some interjections there.
I was just thinking of all my shared experiences that I have with Alex, because I also had a remote office space for a long time, and also suffered through this is so nice and quiet. And then you get like the realtor or the salesperson that takes the office next to you and is on the phone all the time. You just go crazy. But
yeah.
So you find out who all the loud talkers are.
It turns out it's everyone.
it's everyone. Just turn out the volume on your phone.
But yeah, let's get to the meat of this. So
yeah, so you are. I know you're not a productivity expert, but you feel incredibly. It sounds like you're very productive to most of us. So full-time job, and you're still cranking out open source work, and now somehow you've managed to squeeze some of that as well into an awesome app called Dezi. And so I don't know if you want to give us the high level of what Dezi is if someone hasn't heard of it yet, which is wild if you haven't, because it's awesome.
We announced it at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, Karl already gave the elevator pitch for me. Maybe Karl could do it.
Yeah, Karl could do it. So yeah, when you're talking to people.
It's written in JavaScript. Stay away. No, just kidding.
Yep.
There's the soundbite. Do with that as you will. So
yeah, that's gonna be what's going around. Yeah, so Desi, I think Karl did do a good description at the beginning. I would say
from your website.
And yeah, that's I've got it up too right now. I'm gonna read it.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Karl.
No, but yeah, I think in its current state, Dezi is an AI powered like visual builder, visual designer for Shopify apps, for building UIs with Polaris. That's kind of where it started with too, was like a visual builder. And I have some thoughts on where I'm going to take it after this, where it's going to go. But that's always going to be the base of it, is AI powered visual builder for Polaris.
That's awesome. Yeah. For Polaris. That was a big thing we were initially talking about. And this didn't originally start like AI either, right? Like it was more, this was like a drag and drop kind of type thing, and made it much easier, period, to work with Polaris, at least for me, as someone who's primarily a theme dev front end guy. And I was only learning Polaris initially because, like checkout extensibility. And so now I have to know what Polaris is. And like when I'm like creating these checkout extensions, and now we need to know it for the customer account extensions as well. So if you're even if you're just a theme dev and you've never really heard of or had to interact with Polaris previously, you are going to have to at a certain point. So app devs are in this all the time, but now all of us are in it, and so this becomes relevant to everyone who just does Shopify dev. So I think that's awesome. So as far as maybe we'll talk about the who is it for kind of type thing or whatever. Why would you say that you built this? Because obviously it's a very cool tool, right? But and you were already doing Polaris components as well from the open source perspective. And so something about that, though, you saw was still the shortfall. Maybe it was the people who were like, hey, build me a component for this or whatever kind of type thing. And you're like, you could do this yourself, kind of type thing. So why even go this route?
So it did stem from Polaris components. And it was actually something that I originally was going to build into Polaris components. Like, from the beginning, like this was what my thought process was let's do Polaris components, and then I will add like a just another page on Polaris components that is like a builder where you can use these components and kind of drag and drop them around. But I never got to that stage with Polaris components. Kind of fell, it fell to the sidelines a little bit. But then I was thinking about that, kept thinking about it, and after, I guess it was almost a year, maybe, technically, after Polaris components, I pulled up like the old designs or like prototypes, because I had started doing like a drag and drop builder in Polaris components. So I pulled that repo down, and it was, I'll see if I can find it, and I'll send you a picture of it or something.
Oh, yes, please do.
It was
more pictures of your screen on your phone.
Yeah. No, it was not. I mean, it wasn't anything. Didn't work. It wasn't anything. So but I looked at it and I was like, I think there's maybe something here. So I started building it out, and I will say this is kind of what propelled me into being like a big proponent of AI, because I did do a lot of the build of Desi with AI. And that's something I wouldn't have been. I know Karl's there with the, let's get the thumbnail. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have been able to move as fast as I did without AI. Now I'm gonna get like a bunch of ethical hackers like digging into it and emailing me, but yeah. So
I think most of the things that we're building, we're touching with AI at this point. This just feels like a known element of stuff that we're building. We're using AI. So yeah.
But yeah, so that kind of was also like a big, a help there. And the kind of aha moment for me was when I kind of finally decided to keep going with Desi and like actually build it out. I was still prototyping with AI, and then I didn't want to take a bunch of time like researching into like a canvas solution for like, putting the preview on the page and zooming and panning and all that. So I asked AI, and like it, they throw the term one shot around pretty loosely, but this felt like a one shot. And it just built like an incredibly looking canvas, pretty close to what it is today. And after that, I was like, okay, AI is pretty cool. Let's see what we can do. And so that was my like AI conversion moment, I guess.
Your singularity moment.
So, and then from there, it just kind of built up. And I remember, as far as like why I built it, this is actually something I've been thinking more about lately too, and trying to like remember, I guess, the initial drive and the original mission behind it. I remember I was talking with my wife before doing Desi. I think I had just started working on the prototype, and I was telling my wife that I wanted to do something that had an impact. And that's kind of turned into like a personal philosophy a little bit of this idea of creating an impact. I was just thinking, I could build an app, like a Shopify app. Stores could install it. I could make money from it. But for me, that doesn't create any kind of impact other than, some monetary value for customer and me. But with Desi, my main goal was creating something that wasn't necessarily valuable, but impactful, that could help a lot of people. And the image in my mind, like as I was thinking of this, was just thinking about like dropping something into a pool of water and seeing all the ripple effects, and the splashes and everything, and how big of an impact something like that could have on other people. So that really was like, I don't know what happened, but from that point, it was kind of, before that point, I was always very focused, like I was very focused on like financial aspect of it. Like, I'm doing all this freelance, like to make more money, improving at my full-time job to make more money. And so to me, it always made sense, like, yeah, like just build stuff to make money. Like that's kind of the point. And I don't know what happened really, but like around this time, that's when my viewpoint kind of shifted and was like, wait, like what will some extra money do for me in 2 years? Like nothing's going to change. If I freelance, say I build an agency and it's, making $500K a year or $1 million a year, like nothing is really going to change from now to 2, 3, 5 years from now, other than there's going to be more money in the mix. And so this was something that I looked at it and I was like, having an impact and like being able to help other people and potentially make their lives easier is worth more than the strictly financial side of it. Not to get like philosophical, I guess, but that's kind of and that today like still is kind of driving it. And I'm doing some stuff right now with Desi. Like I'm figuring out new pricing stuff because I kind of realized as I was going through this that the current pricing structure and stuff just doesn't line up and match up with that original philosophy or mission I had. So there's going to be some changes coming very soon, probably by the time this podcast is out. But yeah, and I think there's a lot of things that went into that too. Sorry, and I'm just gonna kind of keep going off on a little tangent, but
sure,
you're great.
Before this, the year before, so last year, I guess 2024, I had done a lot of freelance. My wife was still doing, in 2023, she was still doing markets in the summer, farmers markets, selling her onesies. And we were pushing very hard to be able to pay off all of our debt because we had just finished our basement, had a pretty sizable basement loan, HELOC for the basement, had some medical debt, had a car loan, of course a mortgage, but we were focusing on getting all the non-mortgage debt paid off. So it was I would say like an extreme push from both my wife and I, like trying to get there, and we did finally get there, like beginning of the year. Got basement paid off, car paid off.
That's awesome, man. Congrats. Yeah, that's crazy.
Super. I feel very grateful for that situation. So I was kind of in a spot where it's like, hey, we don't have like all this debt. We kind of feel a lot more free. We can like breathe a lot more. And so I think that played into it too, where I was like, I'm working very hard with all this freelance and all this everything to make extra money to pay off all that debt. And after doing that, it was like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like what's the point, kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of played into everything, and honestly kind of shaped my viewpoint on how I see a lot of things now.
Yeah, people don't realize like the position that puts you in, like getting rid of like immediate consumer kind of debt or what have you, and just having the freedom then to choose what you want to do. And that was kind of the same for us, paying off student loans. That was stuff that we never thought we'd be able to get out from under. And, getting into a position where we just have our mortgage as like really the only debt is incredibly freeing. And you really get to decide what you want to do with your time. Then it's pretty wild. And so congrats. That's huge. That takes a ton of work. So that's really big.
Yeah. It was a lot. And I will say one other thing is, like, up until pretty recently, we just got our like emergency fund like fully funded for the recommended like 6 months, whatever. And I think I've had like a recent mind shift or perspective shift too, and I think it's directly tied to that, because now I feel like there's just so much like comfort that comes with it, knowing like things will be okay. And that's really what let me kind of decide to leave my full-time job. That was extremely secure, extremely stable, good. If I didn't want to leave anywhere else, or if I wasn't pulled anywhere else, I probably would have stayed there forever, because it was just such a great job. And so that kind of gave me the courage to try something new too, and leave that, step into a less stable situation.
If you ever run into the problem, Alex, of having too much money, I could help you with that. I know some techniques that I used in my own life.
Well,
so
if I ever get there, I definitely will. You'll be the first I'll call.
Yeah.
So
it's cool to hear you talk about that, though, because it's something I also personally have. We're like the same person, Alex. Co-working spaces, loud neighbors, philosophical dilemmas. I run calculations sometimes. My career path is a little different, but it's like, oh, if I worked really hard and did a bunch of side work in the next 10 years, like we might be able to get to a place where we could, if not retire early, at least retire more comfortably when that time comes, like gain financial independence, right? But then you really have to weigh that. I've started to weigh that against like, well, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to work my whole life unless something major changes in society or whatever. Like I'll be able to find employment. Is it worth potentially trading in the next 10 years or whatever of this like prime time with my family where my kids are at the age where 10 years from now they will no longer be in the house, potentially kind of stuff, right? To be able to then be financially secure or better off, whatever. And I don't know, I think it's wise to think about that because there's more to life, you're right, than having loads and loads of money. So if you can get to a place where you feel financial freedom or even to your point, like more financially secure, is that a good spot to kind of stop and reassess like what are my trade-offs right now? Am I exchanging time for money or whatever, that kind of thing?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, I just turned 29, so getting older. And
Yep.
that's something I I know you guys are about the same age, so you guys understand. It like that is something I think about fairly often now too, is like, should I give, the next 3-5 years like going really hard trying to make it, or should I just be try to be comfortable at a job and just accept that, which it's still an extremely like, privileged position to be in anyway, but I do like literally, and my wife can attest to this, literally on the like probably every day I flip-flop between like, yeah, I might as well like give it a few years, like see what we can do, see if we can meet like our goals and stuff. And then I'll flip-flop to, wait a second, like like again, like family is the most important thing, like I'll just quit everything and just like hang out with my family all day. Like it literally is like so often that my mental kind of shift between those. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think I am still young enough to try to, go after some things but still leave, all the time that I want for family.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's always a tough part. Balance. I think moderation, whatever you want to call it. I think it's really easy to go all in one way or the other always. I think the extremes in that, like black and white, a lot of us are really good about thinking that way,
Yeah.
But when you have to like temper that with, I am working really hard to support my family or whatever it is, but then also because I'm working so hard, I'm no longer even interacting with my family. That's, that trade-off there that you have to really think hard and long about. So this is all really great stuff. I feel like this is like a whole other episode that we could really, really run through. But as far as, I don't know if we want to try to backtrack to Desi really quick before we get too long here. Cause like this is all really good. I feel like we should have just like made a totally different topic and had you on just for this. Cause this is, all of us are a bit like different stages here of where we're at in that regard. So that's really
What are you
funny.
saying, Taylor?
I am saying that you are the most experienced on the call and you have more insights to offer than we've allowed you time to talk about. So see what I did there?
Let's talk Desi before I... Yeah, I see.
So really great. Who you built it for, main problem point, and all the stories behind this. I think that's really cool. So like highlighting or really summarizing that is kind of being in a position where you can build something, you can spend the time building something like this that's going to really impact and benefit a lot of people in the Shopify community. And as far as who's it's for, I think we talked about a little bit too, like app dev, theme dev, agencies, solo devs, designers who just have to build something out for Shopify that they know is going to be, built on Polaris. Like this is really great to use as far as like a quick little promo for that. I've had my wife even play around with Desi some and some of the stuff that we're doing and playing around with. And my wife is not a developer. She's adamant about not wanting to touch code. And she found Desi easy to use and like enjoyed using it to where she could actually build stuff, which was great because before this, when we were trying to do mock-ups, she would send me these little like Canva things or whatever. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I hate getting into like Canva's a good tool, but I don't like getting into it. And so it's just one of those things where like, this is so much better. So It's very, very easy, but very powerful to use. So I think that that's really cool. I haven't played around as much with the AI stuff. I don't know if you want to reference or talk about that really quick. And then I wanted to talk about the AI stuff, integrations, tech stack. We obviously, Carl's already been dogging on JavaScript. We know it's built with, there's
I'm
some
really curious
React
to
in
know
there.
about how you built it. I mean, it's really impressive looking.
Yeah. So yeah, talk about maybe how you built it, maybe talk about the AI and then some of the integrations as well.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so like, I guess going back to like tech stack, um, I kind of I don't want this to be like an endorsement of the tech stack because I kind of wish I had done things differently now. But
Rails.
I don't want I don't want it to be not an endorsement either because that makes it sound bad. Let's have a very neutral conversation here.
Let's try.
So my like initial thinking was, of course, like let's just get this up as quick as possible, like MVP. Let's see if it even works. So I used something I'm familiar with, Next.js, React-based framework. And for the database, I use SuperBase, another very quick get it up and running tool. And honestly, that's like the basis of the whole app. I did the only reason why I put that little disclaimer is because I think it's mostly like decisions I had made throughout the start of it, where I kind of wish I had more control over some of the stuff now. Like full control of like everything happening in the build and in the database. And you can SuperBase is a great tool. It's hosted on Vercel. These are all great, really great tools. But yeah, that and I'll probably share more about that.
If you had to rebuild it, what would you have rebuilt it in? What would be the preferred tech stack after like Desi's matured at this point where like you actually have a product that people are using kind of type thing? Where do you think you would have gone instead?
Well, I think the first thing I would have done is not use SuperBase, so like integrated into everything, because I'm using it for the authentication as well. So it's like a SuperBase service of authentication, and then obviously tied into the database, using like the SuperBase specific client, like the database client they provide. So like if I wanted to move to another another database or use something else like Prisma or something a little more general, I'd have to refactor everything. Like literally everything like in the back end that touches SuperBase. I'd need to ideally like change the authentication system to something else. I was using it a little bit SuperBase storage too a little bit, which that's the thing. It's like I don't want to dog on it because it is I feel like it's very good and it's mostly used for like MVPs, like let's get it up and running. It lets you move very quick in the beginning. And Desi isn't like a massive application by any means, and there's not like a ton of people working on it. Well, it's just me. There's one person working on it. So yeah. Anyway, but if I were to do it today, I really like Railway. It's a hosting service, and I've been playing around with it. I've done like what's that? No, sorry.
Oh.
I know.
Is that the one Shopify was recommending for a while?
I don't know if they were recommending it. I think they had an option for it in their like setup guide for hosting an app.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
But that one, yeah, that's one I've been diving into more, and it's great. Like I really like it. I like the setup structure. I like I think I would have liked being a little bit more involved in like the at like a lower level on the like tech stack and infrastructure setup. But again, maybe I probably wouldn't have been able to move as fast as I did if I didn't use that tech stack. So overall, I guess no real regrets. And yeah, maybe that'll be something in the future that I move over to. But
did you hear that, Carl? No Rails regrets.
He said no real regrets. And I'm looking at this Railway thing because of the name like Railway. I was like, it's got to be some Rails thing. I'm not seeing it. Anyway, it's cool.
Good anyway. So that's kind of the tech stack as far as what's built out there, right? And So as far as like the AI, the AI stuff's pretty cool. I don't know if you want to talk about like how did you fold that in? I think that's really interesting as far as how folks are kind of integrating AI directly. So you're not only building with it, but then you're integrating like AI to actually build things with. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about that a little
For
bit at
sure.
least.
Yeah. So I think I had like a thought to do AI at some point, and then when I first put out like the very first, I think after the first tweet, where it was like beta, anybody could sign up and just play around with it and try it out. Um, I got a few messages from people asking if I was going to do AI because their use case and something that they would see themselves using it for a lot would be like prototyping with AI, like quickly building UI with AI. And so I got a few more requests, when you're at this stage, like even one request is like, okay, I got to figure out how to do that. So that's kind of what pushed it there. And I did have quite a bit of trouble at the beginning with using AI with trying to generate Polaris. And there's kind of two parts to it. So the first thing is that I have my own like JSON structure for a page and for how the components are structured so that I can easily map it to the layout, the page layout preview. So like, every component, like, let's say there's a components array and every component is an object, has an ID, it has a position, it has, its content, whatever. And then when you're moving stuff around on the canvas, it's just moving those objects around. And then I can take that and say, and, render the preview reliably from my, like structure, the JSON structure. So the first problem was, okay, I should probably have AI learn this structure and generate this structure versus just using React. And I kind of went back and forth on a few different ways to do it, but the most reliable way was to give AI just a ton of instructions, like the system prompt that I give to the AI is pretty massive. And I literally give it like all the details about the structure of the page, like what the page layout looks like in the JSON, like the schema of it. And then I give it all of the possible components, like literally just all the component definitions. I give it all the icons. And that was mostly a way to get rid of like the hallucination. I don't know if you've used tools like V0 or Lovable for trying to build Polaris, but or even just like general AI like ChatGPT or Claude. It always gives me components that are from a very old, outdated library that are deprecated, don't exist. It has a lot of trouble with icons. Like I literally, after like 4 or 5 prompts, when I try to do it with something like V0, I just say, okay, just remove all the icons, like just remove everything, just put placeholders, because it just can't get it right. So my way to get around that was giving it a massive prompt with explicit instructions that like, this is literally every icon that you can use, all 500 or however many there are. These are all the components you can use. And I tell it to basically think in React and then give me the output in this structure. And it ends up with actually pretty reliable way to build UIs. But that was like a pretty big struggle in the very beginning. Like it was hallucinating. It was giving very bad responses. But yeah, that kind of eased it.
So kind of the prompt is almost kind of like if you're using something like Claude and you've got like a Claude markdown file or whatever, it's kind of like you're like these are the rules, or this is like the prompt that I want you to go off of kind of type thing or whatever. Is that's kind of like to a degree of what it is?
Pretty much, yeah. So I for the AI, like all of the AI stuff right now, I actually use Gemini 2.5 Flash.
Okay.
Or 2.5 Pro, depending on which like quality you choose. And I tested at the time, so this was back when like Claude 3.7, I guess, was out. And at the time, Gemini was extremely good and also by far the cheapest. And I've kind of
Yeah, I was
played around
gonna
with
ask
it.
about costs.
Yeah, it's and that's why initially I started with the bring your own key approach. So I didn't do anything on the server. It was all fully based in the browser. Like you put in your key, saves it in local storage, and then you just make your requests. And that allowed me to also offer like, okay, you can do ChatGPT, 3.5. You can do ChatGPT, I don't know, one of their like small flash models. You could do Gemini. You could do Claude if you want to burn through the API costs. But there were just a lot of variables I couldn't account for, like with ChatGPT to use O1 Pro or whatever their top model was at the time. You had to like verify your organization, like you had to give it your ID and stuff like that. And it would give an error if you hadn't done that, but the error wasn't very descriptive. So people would message me and be like, hey, the AI isn't working. Like I'm trying to use ChatGPT and it just gives me an error. And when I look in the logs, it's because something specific to their account, or Claude. Or with Gemini, there's also like kind of a similar thing where you have to set up like a billing plan or add your billing information in order to use it. So I ran into those issues, and so I decided to just pull the bring your own key thing out and just control everything on the server. You send the prompts. I do everything through my own API key, and everything. So, and the cost, yeah. So Gemini was the cheapest, and it's jumped up in price now, but it's still by far the cheapest one. Like a typical prompt would be like 5 to 10 cents, which is actually kind of a lot. And I'm working on getting it like down, mostly like refining the system prompts and doing stuff like that to get it down. But yeah, that's what it is now. But so that's kind of the evolution of the AI, though. It was the bring your own key, like, put in whatever provider you want, and then it moved to the server side, which it is now, where I do all the AI in the server. Yeah, but the AI has been interesting. Like I think that is a big point and a big thing that I want to improve, because I think that'll be a very important thing. Like when I get to prototyping and release some of the things I want to do with that, I could see a very real situation where you open up Desi, you give it an AI like describing your page you want, what kind of functionality you want, and you have a rapid prototype, basically V0, but it works for Shopify. So
yeah, and it's really helpful, I think, for a lot of those things, at least from the standpoint of, I'm one of those people who, if I hit a blank page, even if I know what I want to do, like you hit a blank page and your mind goes blank, it's that idea of like, I don't even know where to start. So you have templates too, but then AI is also like really helpful as far as just getting you at a minimum the starting point. And the AI is still very good as far as like how close it can get you, even without having to interact with it. So that's pretty cool.
Well, boys, I hate to be the one to break up the party, but I think it might be time to transition to the changelog. Did you have more?
Anything else you want to throw out there, Alex, before we start moving into the final segment here? I think what's going to happen is we're just going to have to bring them on again. We have all these other things that we only scratched the surface of, and it's been over an hour. And Alex is just a lot of fun to talk to and very, very, very smart. So almost as smart as you, Karl.
Almost. Next time we'll do it like 2 a.m.
Next time we'll do it at 2 a.m. He's up anyways.
Yeah, you've got to handicap my mental stability for next time. So.
Yeah, is there anything else that you want to say about Desi before we kind of move off there? Because obviously, like, I feel like we could talk about this for a very long time, so I don't want to miss anything that you find critical there.
No, I think that kind of covered everything. Well, not everything. It scratched the surface. But I think we're good to leave it there. I will say that I do expect some pretty big changes coming fairly soon. Again, like probably by the time this podcast comes out. But I'm moving more to like the prototyping is kind of a vision of where I want to take it. As in like functional UIs, functional shareable UIs, from a UI perspective. So
that's awesome. Very cool. And so if you are on the site, go check out the pricing calculator about how much you value your time on the site. If you have not yet, it's a very clear call out for those of you that do value your time and you have to touch Polaris. It makes it a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's kind of how I started to think about software in general. So I was like, I might put it up there. Like, if something costs you $50 a month, but it saves you an hour or two, then maybe it's worth it.
Makes sense.
All right, Taylor, it's your time to shine.
What you got for us if today? If I have to. Okay. So, the changelog, cue awesome transition music there. That's what's that? So, real quick, there's a bunch in here. I don't feel like I can cover all of them. Really quick, there, as far as an action required one that was just in the list here, and again, check the changelog. You do need to upgrade to the latest version of Checkout Kit to avoid issues with iOS 26. So if you are utilizing Checkout Kit, make sure that you do that. There's a preloading feature that's not compatible with an upcoming iOS release. So that is very important. Make sure you do check that out. Really relevant to our conversation today. Another item, new components are available for Polaris in admin section. So the Polaris web components that are rolling out, which probably should have talked about like that with Desi to some degree, all these new web components and things. But those are available as well. You want to check those out. Things like color field, color picker, popover, tooltips, stuff like this. There's a bunch of new ones as well. So be sure to pay attention to that. Another item in the changelog, really quick. I'm just trying to breeze through these since there's so many and I want to hit
You're doing
at least
great.
a handful.
You're doing great.
The meta object field definitions offer now new capabilities where they can be filterable through the admin. So I don't know if any of y'all play around too much with the Shopify admin, but we already have this capability with a lot of meta fields where you can easily filter out for different objects and stuff. And so that's very, very helpful. We can now do this with meta objects. So very helpful. There are additionally, there's a spot where you can update this as well. There's a mutation to make it admin filterable enabled now as well when you're creating meta objects via the admin API. So check that out as well. Very cool. You can also query by them as well if they're filterable. So that would be helpful as well to break into your app when you're leveraging meta objects. So another quick one. Thought this was interesting. Facebook or Meta orders now support native exchanges. Not going to go into that too much. I just thought it was nifty. So
that was cool.
There's also order meta field definitions and values can now be used as filters in the Shopify admin UI. So that's, again, very helpful. Any instance where we can actually pin a meta field to an order and then be able to filter on them. We're moving further and further away from tags. Like this is a common convention that we use for tagging orders and all those sorts of things. Meta fields are much more performant and better to use in a lot of instances, and they're surfaceable in a lot of other areas where it's harder to access tags. So definitely check that out as well. I would say that's interesting. Another really interesting thing, not sure if y'all saw this, but Sidekick will now actually recommend apps. Merchants can throw a prompt into Sidekick and it will give you a handful of relevant apps. So that's kind of interesting. It'll give you up to three recommendations. And so a single highlighted app card for strongly matched apps based on what the consumer is looking for. So be sure to check that out. I think that's really interesting as far as checking out additional documentation or how you can continue to improve your store listings. So that way Sidekick does a better job recommending your app for the right situation. And finally, built for Shopify, there's an update to the grace period for uninstall and app embed requirements. So it's actually jumped. So I'm not sure so the built for Shopify previously, you had to have it uninstall cleanly, like when you're utilizing theme app extensions and then, app being embedded in the Shopify admin, but now you go from this being an immediate requirement when it's uninstalled to a 60-day grace period. So I'm not sure what happened, what technical issues have continued to arise from that. I'm sure there's some story there. I'd be interested to hear about issues people had with that, but just a heads up, now built for Shopify, you can update on the grace period there for the uninstall requirements to meet qualifications for built for Shopify. So that is the changelog. There's more stuff there. I tried to go quick and only covered the really interesting stuff. There's other stuff you definitely need to be checking out.
Oh, that was great, Taylor. Thank you for the little nap. No, I love the changelog. Appreciate that you do this for us. Very interesting. Yes. Hey, well, you made it to the third half of our show, my favorite half. And those of you that are still with us for Car, if you're still chugging, keep chugging just a few more minutes because it's time for Pick of the Week. And I feel like I'll go first since I haven't talked much on this podcast. My pick of the week is a book by the esteemed author Stephen King. Actually, he wrote it under a different name. I forget what the name was, but it's one of his first books, his earliest books, called The Long Walk. Didn't publish it till later, but I believe he wrote it during college. Now, I'm not like a Steve King academic or anything like that, but some of his books I do enjoy. I don't like the really gruesome ones, but this one I saw they were making a movie out of it, and I was looking for a good book, so I thought, well, why not be up with the popular zeitgeist? So I read it, and it was good. It was different. I enjoyed it. It made you think a little bit. It didn't develop the world as much as I was hoping for, like the motivation behind why this thing was happening. I'm not going to give any spoilers. So at the end, I was kind of hoping for a little bit more, but I didn't get it. But it was worth the read. So if you're looking for a good book, you don't mind a little bit of stuff, check it out.
Are you going to see the movie?
I would like to think so, Alex, but my rate of movie watching at this point is about once a year in terms of like being in an actual theater. So we'll see. The odds are not in my favor. Yeah. How about you, Alex? Right. You got your pick?
Yes, I do. I actually had a few things to pick from, but what I settled on was my pizza oven.
Oh,
yes.
I've got to say, it's really great. I love it. If you guys are any level of pizza enthusiast or pizza enjoyer, I think you would also appreciate it. It is so the one I got, just for reference, as my official recommendation as a pizza connoisseur, is the Gosney Rock Box. That's the one I have. And it's very nice. It gets up to like 900 degrees. That's Fahrenheit for all you Europeans. And it cooks pizza in like less than a minute sometimes. It's extremely fast. You can you watch it literally crisp up and like bubble, and it's very cool. The reason I even got the pizza oven in the first place is because I do love a good pizza. There's like a pizza place near here called Mod Pizza. I don't know if it's you guys have it?
We have one out of business, yeah.
Oh, dang it. Okay. So that's what started my love of pizza. It's like, like it's like thin crust, customizable, anything you want in there. One time I randomly went there and got the barbecue chicken pizza, and I never had liked barbecue chicken before that, and I fell in love. That's a love story. And that was like a year, like literally for a year, I've been like getting pizza minimum one time a week from Mod Pizza, just because it was like very comfort food.
Are you a rewards member?
Yeah. So
okay.
I got quite a few free pizzas.
Nice.
And yeah, I loved it. It was good. Like that was our kind of like ritual for a little bit, where I would go and like we'd put the kids to bed. I'd go get Mod Pizza. We'd come back and just watch a movie or something and eat. Yeah, good times. But I have not been to Mod since I got my pizza oven, because I make a barbecue chicken pizza that is indistinguishable from Mod Pizza. And I wish I was exaggerating. Like well, I don't wish I was exaggerating, actually. That's the truth.
I'm pretty happy that it's legit.
That's the truth of it. But I will say it takes like 5 or 6 times of making pizza to where you can, well, probably a lot more than that, but just to get to the point where you're like, okay, I can kind of do this. I can make it. Like the first few batches were like completely burned. But I've got it to a point now where it's good. I had like a pizza party a couple weeks ago, and everybody was making like people picked their toppings, and I was like the chef, like throwing everything on the pizzas, and
that's awesome.
Throwing the dough in the air, and I don't know. I like seriously,
just
after
fulfilling that lifelong dream of being a pizza chef.
Yeah, I was after a week, I was like, maybe I should open like a pizza truck or something.
Yes.
So just so you know, like how quickly how excited I get about things very quickly. Yeah, and I might still do it. I might still open a pizza truck. You never know.
I've always wanted to open a pizzeria. Maybe we can go into business together.
Maybe.
You are the same person, so
we need to fill the hole that Mod left in your
yeah, it's a big hole. Real quick, we'll get into Taylor because I'm gonna wrap this up. But It says on here it takes 20 to 30 minutes to heat it up using natural gas or liquid propane gas. Mm-hmm. How much gas do you end up going through? Because it feels like that would be a lot.
It is actually a lot. I'm actually not sure, but I have well, let me think. So I've made it probably like 4 or 5 times since I got a new propane, like just the little propane ones. And it is almost out. Like I think it'll last one more time. So maybe 5-6 uses. Cause yeah, you heat it up and it's on like full blast for about 30-40 minutes, depending on how you want to get it. And then it's on, like, I put it on low when I'm actually cooking, but if I'm making like, 4 or 5 pizzas at once, then it can take, I don't know, 20 minutes, 25 minutes total. So yeah, it's on for a good, over an hour at a time. So yeah.
Very cool. I'm on my way over to check it out for lunch today, Alex. I'll be there soon. Taylor, what you got for us?
So not nearly as exciting as either one of you, but this fall has started, which means I'm going to local high school football games, and I'm already attending a lot of kids' sporting events, and so my pick is going to be those little foldable stadium seats that you can bring with you everywhere. So especially all this time I'm spending on these metal bleachers, I was like, something's got to change here or whatever. And they make these now. So I'm this guy that like comes trucking along or whatever. I've got mine and my wife's chairs or whatever every time, like bumping into people, trying to squeeze through all these places or whatever. And so we just got these. I mean, you can get whatever. We got these GCI brand little stadium seats, and they're nice because it's a canvas, so you don't get too hot. That's problematic for me. My wife would probably like one of the heated ones, but they're nice. They're easy to pack away, and my back doesn't hurt after watching a football game or whatever kind of type thing. So big fan.
When you go to a high school football game, do you get concessions?
So I do not. My kids, the only reason they want to come to the game is to get concession stuff.
Just curious.
Well, and so we live in a town where all their family is, and so their aunts and uncles come to the games, and we don't go with the intention of buying them stuff, but that's what ends up happening. So we had to start buying stuff because otherwise now their family's just buying them stuff anyways. I don't want people spending all their money on my kids and stuff too. So it's like, hey, like you can only spend this much now. So, but no, well, it depends. I should also say it depends. I did go to one away game, and I've never seen this before, but they served baked potatoes with random stuff on them. And I was like, I've never been to a football game where they served a baked potato. You could get, like I got mac and cheese and pulled pork on mine. It was awesome.
That's like have you seen those videos of like I don't know where they are, London or something? The British people like making the potatoes. Like I imagine that's where it's from. I have no idea. I'm not cultured in that way.
Tell me more.
There's these videos of these guys. I don't know. I don't remember what it's called. And they sound British to me. And they're like in a truck and they make potatoes, like baked potatoes. They cut them open and they just put like random stuff.
I love it.
Like chili or cheese or like chicken.
So it was far enough into the season. It was like cold, like a baked potato with a bunch of stuff on it was like the best stadium snack I've ever had. And so I'm looking forward to this, but then I asked someone that lives there and they're like, oh no, that was like a one-time thing. I was like, no, like I've been talking about this all year. You guys need to do it. I might just start sneaking in my own thing of baked potatoes to games,
Yeah. No, it sounds good. I've never tried it. Yeah. I don't know.
You should.
I think the writing's on the wall, guys. Pizza plus baked potatoes plus coffee. Like we'll go in together. It'll be perfect.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Alex is gonna have to move. He's got a ways to go.
It's hard to believe, but you have wasted another perfectly good hour, more than an hour, listening to the Liquid Weekly podcast. Alex, thank you so much for joining us today. Taylor, you kind of had to be here. Appreciate it though. And all of you that stuck around, we really appreciate that. So we'll see you on the next one, and have a great day. Happy hacking.